How are you guys doing? Today is Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to take you through the elite performers throughout this season, as there are 2 more weeks left in the season following last night's Week 15 Monday night matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. And with 2 weeks left in the season, and some teams have already clinched their spot in the playoffs, I think this is one of these episodes where I'm going to keep updates going through the season, especially when it comes to individual stats leaders, starting with the offensive side of the ball, starting with passing yards leaders. The current leader in passing yards in the NFL is Patrick Mahomes, the elite starting quarterback for Kansas City, who is the reigning Super Bowl MVP. He currently has 4,462 yards this season. And second in the league is Deshaun Watson, the elite starting quarterback for the Houston Texans, who has 4,134 yards on the season. Third in the NFL is Matt Ryan, the elite starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, who has 4,016 passing yards. In fourth place, in the last quarterback with 4,000 yards passing this season is Josh Allen, who has exactly 4,000 passing yards this season. And fifth in the NFL is Tom Brady, the GOATed quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who has 3,886 passing yards so far this season. Looking to completion percentage so far this year, the current leader in completion percentage is Drew Brees, who has just returned. He has completed 70.5% of his passes following his last performance, where he completed about half of them. Second in the league currently is Russell Wilson, the elite starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, who has completed 70.2% of his passes. Third in the league is Deshaun Watson, the elite starting quarterback for the Houston Texans, who has completed 69.9% of his passes. Fourth in the league is Teddy Bridgewater, the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, who has completed 69.8% of his passes. And fifth in the league is Aaron Rodgers, the GOATed quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, who has completed 69.6% of his passes. Right now, looking at who leads the league in passing touchdowns, the current leader in the NFL in passing touchdowns is Aaron Rodgers, the GOATed quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, who has thrown 40 touchdowns this season, with 4 interceptions so far this season. Second in the NFL is Russell Wilson, the elite starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, who has thrown 37 this year, compared to his 13 interceptions. Third in the league is Patrick Mahomes, the elite starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, who has completed 36 passing touchdowns this season, along with his 5 interceptions. Fourth in the league is Tom Brady, the GOATed quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who has thrown 32 touchdowns this season, contrasted with his 11 interceptions this year. And fifth in the NFL with 31 touchdowns this season is Ryan Tannehill, the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Right now, leading the league in interceptions. At the top, you'll find Carson Wentz, the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, who has 15 interceptions this season. And tied for second in the NFL in interceptions, you'll find Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings, Drew Lock of the Denver Broncos, and Russell Wilson, the elite starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. They all have 13 interceptions to their name this season. And then tied for fifth in the league with 12 interceptions, you'll find Nick Mullins of the San Francisco 49ers and Jared Goff of the Los Angeles Rams. Looking out to the rushing leaders so far this season, Derrick Henry currently leads the elite running back for the Tennessee Titans, currently leads all running backs in yards, as he has 1,679 yards this season. Second in the league is Dalvin Cook, who has 1,484 rushing yards to his name. Third in the NFL, and the last running back who has 1,000 rushing yards this season is James Robinson of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who has 1,070 yards. Fourth in the league is Aaron Jones from the Green Bay Packers with 968 rushing yards, and Nick Chubb from the Cleveland Browns is fifth with 931 rushing yards this season. So far, the longest rush this season belongs to Ronald Jones II for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who has a 98-yarder. And then looking at 20-yard rushing plays so far this season, the current leader is Derrick Henry, who has 13 of them, the elite running back from the Tennessee Titans. Second in the league is Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns, who has 11 of them this season. Third in the NFL is Lamar Jackson, the elite starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, who has 8 of them. Fourth in the league is Gus Edwards from the Baltimore Ravens, who has 7. And there's a big tie for fifth, as it is a 7-way tie. It contains Russell Wilson of the Seahawks, Kenyon Drake of the Cardinals, Phillip Lindsay of the Broncos, Alvin Kamara of the Saints, Dalvin Cook of the Vikings, Ronald Jones II of Tampa Bay, and Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals. And right now, looking at the lead in rushing touchdowns, the current leader is it's a tie for the lead in rushing touchdowns. At the top, you'll find elite running back from the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry, and the starting running back from the Minnesota Vikings, Dalvin Cook, with 15 rushing touchdowns each. And then tied for third in the NFL with 11, you'll find Cam Newton, the elite starting quarterback for the New England Patriots, Kyler Murray, the reigning offensive rookie of the year for the Arizona Cardinals, and Antonio Gibson, the starting running back for the Washington football team. They each have 11 rushing touchdowns this season. Looking at the receiving yards leaders this season, starting with the leaders in receptions. The current leader in receptions this year is Stephon Diggs, who has 111 receptions this season for the Buffalo Bills. Second in the league is DeAndre Hopkins, the elite wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, who has 103 receptions this season. Third in the league is Keenan Allen of the Los Angeles Chargers, who has 100 receptions this season. Only three receivers so far have 100 receptions to their name this season. And then tied for fourth in the league with 98 receptions, you'll find Travis Kelce, the elite tight end of the Kansas City Chiefs, and Davante Adams, the starting wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Looking at the league leaders for receiving yards this season, the current leader is DeAndre Hopkins, the elite starting wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, who has 1,324 receiving yards this season. Second in the league is Travis Kelce, the elite tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, who has 1,318 receiving yards this season. Third in the league is Stephon Diggs of the Buffalo Bills with 1,314 yards this season. Fourth in the league is DK Metcalf of the Seattle Seahawks with 1,223 receiving yards this season. And fifth in the league is Tyreek Hill, the elite wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, who has 1,211 receiving yards this season. Looking at the current leaders in receiving touchdowns, the current leader is Tyreek Hill, the elite wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, who has 15 receiving touchdowns this year. Second in the league is Davante Adams of the Green Bay Packers, who has 14 of them. Third in the league is Adam Thielen of the Minnesota Vikings, who has 13 receiving touchdowns. Fourth in the league is Mike Evans, the elite wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who has 11 of them. And then tied for fifth, you'll have Travis Kelce, the elite tight end from the Kansas City Chiefs. Robert Tonyan, the starting tight end for the Green Bay Packers. A.J. Brown, the starting wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. And DK Metcalf, the starting wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, who each have 10 receiving touchdowns this season. The longest reception this year still belongs to Chase Claypool of the Pittsburgh Steelers from Big Ben. Looking at receptions of 20 yards or more, the current leaders are Travis Kelce and Justin Jefferson. Kelce from Kansas City, Justin Jefferson from the Minnesota Vikings. They both have 21 receptions of 20 yards or more. Tied for third in the league with 20 of them, you'll have Allen Robinson II of the Chicago Bears and Calvin Ridley of the Atlanta Falcons. And fifth in the league with 19 of them is Tyreek Hill, the elite wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then looking to the defensive side of the football, the current leaders in total tackles this year, the current leader is Zach Cunningham of the Houston Texans, who has 137 tackles this season. Second in the league is Jalen Smith from the Dallas Cowboys, who has 133 of them. Third in the league is Devin White from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who has 130 tackles this season. Fourth in the league is Blake Martinez of the New York Giants, who has 128, and he's tied with Roquan Smith. Sixth in the league is Bobby Wagner, the elite linebacker from the Seattle Seahawks, who has 126 total tackles this season. Looking at the league leader in sacks, it's currently a tie between goated defensive tackle Aaron Donald of the Los Angeles Rams and Trey Hendrickson, the starting defensive end of the New Orleans Saints. Both have 12.5 sacks to their name this season. Third in the league this year is T.J. Watt, the starting linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who has 12 of them. Fourth in the league is Zadarius Smith, who has 11.5. And then tied for fifth, you'll have Hassan Riddick, the starting linebacker for the Arizona Cardinals, and Myles Garrett, the elite defensive end for the Cleveland Browns this season. I'm looking at interception leaders this season. The current leader in interceptions is Xavier Howard of the Miami Dolphins, who has 9 of them. Second in the league is J.C. Jackson of the New England Patriots, who has 8 of them, and third in the league is Tyrann Mathieu, who has 6 of them so far this season. And then looking at scoring, or looking at just special teams, or so far starting with scoring, the current leader in points is Younghoe Ko, the place kicker for the Atlanta Falcons, who has 133 points this year. Tied for second in the league, you'll have Daniel Carson of the Las Vegas Raiders, Rodrigo Blankenship of the Indianapolis Colts, and Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills, who each have 125 points for them this season. And then fifth in the league with 122 points is Jason Sanders, the place kicker of the Miami Dolphins this year. And those are currently the league leaders thus far, with 2 weeks left to play. And of course, my next video will come at the very end of the season as we look and see who the individual stats leaders are at the very end of the season. Once again, I want to thank you for sticking around with me for this entire season. Once again, it is Tuesday, December 22nd, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims. I want to thank you once again for listening to all 9-10 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. And then, like I said, I'll catch you following week 17. Thanks for listening to my piece, and peace out.